All right. Welcome to the Bourbon Brothers podcast, episode number 9 already. We're on a special day this week, Monday instead of Wednesday. Here we are, Justin Hall, Supplement Snoop, my partner in crime, as always, Robert Shinetsky, the supplement engineer. We're here to talk about everything life has to throw at us, supplements, bourbon, college football, the whole 9 yards. We're already mixing up the college football and the supplement gear and all that stuff, so you know it's right around the corner. How's it going, Robert?
Oh man, it's going good. It's 2 weeks, a little under 2 weeks until kickoff for LSU. Is Miami's first game on September 4th as well? I'm getting super excited for college football.
So the 4th is the Saturday?
Yeah.
Miami and Alabama.
That same day.
Miami and Alabama is on that. I think it's an afternoon game, 3:30. So
yeah, let's see. I'll pull that up right quick, and
they're playing
about Saturday, September 4th, 2:30 Central, 3:30 Eastern.
Yeah. It's somewhere else. It's not in Miami or Alabama. They're playing. You'd think I would know this, but it's like
the Georgia Dome, maybe.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly where they're playing.
Yeah, the Chick-fil-A kickoff game. Yeah, it's in Atlanta. It's in Hotlanta, so I would assume it's the new Georgia Dome.
Yeah, which is I think that's good for both teams. They do a lot of recruiting in that area. Miami gets a lot of players from Georgia.
JoJo's already hopping in with the trash talk. Go Noles.
Well, okay, so and he knows this then because there was quite a few years where, as a Miami fan, I literally couldn't say anything to FSU fans because Miami was so shitty and FSU was so. Miami's been beating the shit out of Florida State the last few years, and Florida State fans really like. I would never talk trash to them because we were just there, but man, Florida State's in a bad way. They suck, and they are not going to be good this year either. They do not look good at all. That new coach, they are in trouble. So
yeah,
I always like it. You know, I hate Florida much more than Florida State. We've already talked about this, but I always do like it when Florida State stinks. And they're pretty bad. They're pretty bad. So
that's I know Rob over at Steel Fit is an FSU grad as well. He's a huge Noles fan and supporter. So it'll be interesting to get him and I kind of trade shots during college football season. And he's also a Miami Dolphins fan for NFL. So we kind of trade shots whenever the teams meet up, whether it's college football teams or one of our teams has a really rough weekend or go of it or something like that. So
yeah, I think it kind of snuck up. This summer's been so busy, and you see like the pros. I don't really like watch pro football too much anymore. Kind of like if it's Sunday, it's on kind of thing.
Yeah.
But so I wasn't really paying attention to the the preseason's going along, and then because like college, they don't televise any of the stuff that's going on. But I was like catching up with what's going on. I was like, holy shit! Like they're already several weeks into practice and all that other stuff. So it's fun, man. I don't think college football is still my favorite.
Absolutely, same here, and especially with the optics of the NFL and all of the other nonsense, I'd rather not get into the social commentary, political commentary coming up from the league. And I've said basically, fuck it to the NFL. I'm done with all of that stuff.
I started feeling that way a few years ago, and it's only progressed, I think, every single offseason.
Sports is supposed to be the ultimate meritocracy. You're better than me. That's the way it is. I don't care what platform you're trying to push or whatever. Just play the fucking game. And just that's it. That's what you're there to do. That's it.
Yeah, because when I grew up, I remember being like a little kid and Joe Montana was like the center of my universe, right?
Yeah.
So I was always like a 49ers fan growing up, just from following along with him. And Steve Young, so I was just they were just in the Super Bowl a couple years ago. I barely even watched it. I was like, I don't care shit. Like, I don't care about these guys. If Miami was in the national championship game, I would be all about that stuff. So it just was kind of like I don't know, man. I get it. It's like it's been leaving a sour taste in my mouth as years have gone along, especially as social media has become more prevalent. And a lot of it is just, I don't know why we put these people on pedestals. You know what I mean? Because you realize that they're just seeing things from such a small lens, and then they're being able to expose, you know, all these people to them, and it's like,
Yeah.
you know, you should really get out and try some other things before you start talking to like all these people.
Yeah. Same could be said for Hollywood actors that live in their little bubble, and then they get on these platforms and start to do virtue signaling and tell you how to live your life and all that stuff. Just stay in your lane and do your shit. You're growing up. You're an adult pretender, is what you are if you're an actor. That's basically all you do.
Yeah, and you know, at the same time, it's like I don't blame them. I blame the people that
follow
along with them and give them, you know, what else? I don't know, man. It's just because, you know, because people ask me my opinions and stuff about things every day, so I say them. So it's like people want them to comment about stuff, and it's like, why?
Right? Yeah. Well, how are they qualified? Because they have 6 million followers on YouTube or Instagram or something that automatically qualifies them to have an informed and educated opinion on a matter or something that you should even be following?
Well, you know, it's kind of like it's kind of like if you make the analogy to the supplement space or like training and nutrition and stuff like that. It's like if Jay Cutler is out there giving his advice about training and supplementation and stuff to not that this can't apply or whatever, but say it's you know, a mom or whatever that's just trying to like have some that it's not that his advice is like necessarily like bad, but has nothing to do with what she wants to do, because the two things don't match up. So it's like the context isn't there. So same kind of thing when I tell people like, you know, I can tell you what's the best training program or the best, you know, that, but if it doesn't fit into what your life is and doesn't, it's going to be a giant waste of time. So
exactly,
I get it, man.
Yeah, man. JoJo's a Niners fan. I was too growing up. Like we even still like the Saints more often than not were a giant dumpster fire when I was growing up as a kid. I mean, they were. It also didn't help that we were in the same division back then with the Niners. Like we were in the NFC West when there were only 3 divisions. There weren't 4 divisions then. And so we had 1 or 2 really good seasons where we were like 11-5 or 12-4. It didn't matter because the Niners were 14-2 or 13-3, and so we had Bobby Hebert, and then we went through the Aaron Brooks era, which I couldn't stand. And we progressed. Eventually, Drew Brees came to town, was the savior of New Orleans and all of that stuff, and now he's out the door, and we'll see what happens. But I loved Joe Montana, Jerry Rice, Roger Craig, all of those guys. I hated the Cowboys, loved the Niners, and then eventually when the Saints, you know, I always loved the Saints, but then it was finally good to see them actually live up to what they could be after being horrendous for so long.
Yeah, because then you have it'll be interesting. You know, I'm not a big fan of Jameis Winston, but you know, he's not, you know, he's just, dude, I just that guy is like he's weird on some kind of other level. Like when he was at Florida State, I was like, this dude's gonna be in jail before too long, because he's just, there's like something off with him.
You seem like a knucklehead, that's all.
He's just like weird. He's like you know, and when college, so he had the whole like suspension and stuff like that too. But anyway, so you have him and Taysom Hill, right? And they're sort of like battling.
Could you pick a more odd pairing? So you got Jameis Winston and then the Storm and Mormon of Taysom Hill. So
well, you go from like Drew Brees to now this sort of like trying to get 2 people to like fit in to take Drew Brees' place. That's kind of the other thing too, is like, you know, being a 49ers fan, you get spoiled. You know, you have Joe Montana and then Steve Young back to back, and then nothing.
Jeff Garcia for a while, and then
Garcia had a couple good years. He was pretty solid, but it's like you get really spoiled at quarterback. And then you go for years with shit at the position, and you're just like, wow, oh man, we really really had something then. You know, and Drew Brees, you know, kind of same thing. It's like next thing you know, you're like, you don't. It's like, you know how great Drew Brees is, but you're really going to realize how great Drew Brees is over the next couple of years. And you're going to be
absolutely,
like, he was amazing.
What's going on, Chris? JoJo, being Hawaiian, our families grew up Niners fans, I assume, just because it was closest to Hawaii. So I grew up the time of great Niners years and just stayed true. Yeah, that's definitely true. Or is that closest? Were the LA Rams closest, or Oakland? I'm curious. Like, what is actually geographically closest to Hawaii?
I've seen that before, where like 49ers kind of have, well, because I think they were so good during like those years.
Oh yeah,
they're kind of like they have fans all over the place, but there's they're really big, like in Hawaii. I've seen that before.
Very interesting. I got a little bit of breaking news right before we hopped on the podcast, and it's kind of sad news because it involves a ingredient you and I very much are fans of. But I can't. I've been told to not actually. This is just from a source. We're going to say it's from a source. Compound and ThermoLife have settled the VASO6 lawsuit, and VASO6, as a result, a fallout of that lawsuit is that VASO6 will be discontinued within the next 90 days.
Yeah, there's a lot more to it also, but that's kind of part of why he went this new direction, which I think we could talk, right? It's not going to be called Cardia 6. It's going to be called Cellflow, I think it's called.
Cool. I like that name.
Yeah, it's gone through. There's always legal hurdles and things like that I don't think people understand, trademark issues, and there's a lot of stuff in the space that is just time consuming, and it's delays, because I think he wanted to release like Cardia 6 back in like July.
Yeah, I remember that.
And the ingredient itself is still exactly the same. It's not quite the same as VASO6. It's similar, but I should say the version that's been coming out, it's just they're getting tripped up on what they can actually call it, which is, it's like everyone's out there just like, I'm ready for the ingredient, but it's like, you have to go through the legal process sort of first, and it's a big shit show. And it actually like highlights something that Matt said about this whole process, is something that Brady and I, it's one huge thing that small brands getting in the space do not pay any attention to, because they can get away with it, and they think, but legally having everything in order, Brady's an attorney. And that's one big thing we do. It's like, we have conversations with small brands all the time. We're like, you can't do this. Like, this is going to fuck you either six months from now, or it's going to fuck you 3 or 4 years from now. Either way, you have to have people don't care though, because it's like one of those, it's not like present at your doorstep, right? It's sort of like a hypothetical, but it's like, that's where people always get nailed, is they have things off legally because they don't spend the time. They just crank out their stupid little products that everybody has, and they don't treat it like an actual business. They don't take it seriously enough, and because it costs money, it's expensive, and there's no return. There's no return on that investment, right? You don't get a monetary return, so people just don't pay attention to it. And we have these conversations with people all the time, because there's a lot of clients we can't take on because they don't take that part seriously enough, and we're just like, then we're not going to go through this with you down the road. If you don't want to take this stuff seriously.
But it's sad, man. You and I have both been big proponents of VASO6. We had Matt on the podcast, a couple years back, and it's just, I've always loved the ingredient. It's sad to see it go by the wayside. I'm curious to see what the new Cellflow comes out with. That's what the end name ultimately ends up being. I'm curious to see, just to try it for myself, and just to see how it works in comparison to VASO6. It's just, it sucks. But
well, and that's one reason too why he was doing like a side-by-side comparison. He sent out samples to like 30 people. I was one of them. One sample was VASO6, the other was Cardia 6, but he didn't tell you which one. It was kind of like a blind sort of thing, but I could tell right away which one was which. And it's similar, very similar, but there is a little bit more going on with it. So I think you'll really like it. It sucks, because this is exactly the type of shit that we're talking about. So people in this space, innovation and all this sort of stuff, the ingredient was there, but you have the ThermoLife lawsuit, right? You have all this other crap getting in the way of just getting people an ingredient that can help them. And so you're like, there's a lot of things that people don't see that go on behind closed doors that stop certain things from happening in the space, stop certain innovations from happening, because there's people with a lot of money on the line. in this, and they're trying hard to make sure that certain things don't happen because it can affect their bottom line. Yeah. And it's like, now meanwhile, we're all sitting here going, like,
yeah, hey, give us the good shit. It's something that's natural, it's effective.
Yeah.
Which parlays into the next topic. NAC supplies seem to be starting to dwindle, which we just talked about other people having vested interests in other applications and pharmaceuticals, preventing nice natural dietary supplements and ingredients from having a spot that have efficacious dosages and effects in a wide variety of aspects of human physiology. Yep. I've got plenty of NAC here. I've got 6 bottles of this stuff, but
yeah, I don't think that that'll stick. I think the reason why it might seem like okay. Hi, buddy. Hi. Hello. Sorry, my cat is coming to hang out. Okay, get out of the way. So the reason why like the NAC probably seems weird like right now is because there was the initial panic factor. Yep. So a lot of people just rushed to like get rid of it and remove it. So now you're seeing that trickle down effect. But most manufacturers that I know, they maybe like paused, but they're just going to go back to it because it's like exactly what I said when it first happened. I was like, everybody throws up like the panic and alarms and stuff like that. But I was like, this shit happens all the time and nothing ends up happening. Like, we just look, there's still DMHA. You still see products with DMAA, even though that's banned. It's like, there will always be manufacturers that'll be willing to skirt the rules as long as it's, in some cases, even if it is illegal. But, just because you can't get it on Amazon, I don't think it'll be a problem.
No, you can still find it at Walmart. Go to NutriCost.com. You can still find NAC there, Chris. And there's a bunch of other places you can find it. But that's 2 of the places that just immediately jumped to mind that I know still have it, based off recent investigations and purchases.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be a problem to continue to get that.
Agreed. What's going on, Sean? Happy Monday to you too. Yeah, we're a couple of days early this week because Justin is getting ready to go enjoy the luxury and relaxation.
Yeah, man. I cannot wait. It's we got to do the trip in March for my birthday, and then we're gonna do this one. So 2 in 1 year, man. I'm excited.
Good stuff. How long are y'all staying?
For a week, it's really good timing because we have some crazy projects coming up in September, and so it'll be nice because we have be from the 24th to the 31st, and then come back, and it's going to be a total shit show. We're trying to get to Miami for a game at sometime in September, but I don't know if we'll be able to do that. So,
is your better half a big college football fan, or is she into sports at all, or not so much?
Yeah, and you know what? I'll tell you. Here's something that Here's something that really like annoys me that I noticed was a good thing about her right away. You know how you get like these women that are like they talk about sports and they try to be like one of the guys and like all that sort of stuff. I fucking hate that so much. Like, the overcompensating women. And actually, so I'll even tie this into a New Orleans Saints one. Okay, this is like one of those moments where she like said something. I was like, this might be the one for me, this girl.
There you go.
Because she would talk about like she would watch sports and she would make comments, but she wasn't like trying to overly play like, oh, I'm one of the guys and I know about sports. It's like, just shut up. I hate when women do that.
Yeah, well, it's being disingenuous. That's why. I mean, it's not the fact that a woman is interested in sports. It's the fact that they're trying to put on airs to impress you or something like that.
Yes, exactly. You totally get it. You know exactly the type of women I'm talking about. So the one day it was like last year. So we had a Saints game on and I'm just kind of watching it. And I remember like the details of the game, but I remember, so Drew Brees was in and I don't know if they were driving to kind of like win the game or take the lead late in the game. And they took Drew Brees out and put Taysom Hill in the middle of the drive. And he threw an interception or he fumbled. One of the two cost them all this momentum and stuff like that. And I'm just kind of sitting there watching. I'm thinking in my head. And she goes, she's like, that's just really strange that they would put in Taysom Hill right there. She's like, they had all the momentum from Drew Brees. She's like, he's rocking and rolling. She goes, and then they put in Taysom Hill. She's like, and he kind of ruins it. And she was talking about the momentum thing and then bringing in sort of like a different kind of quarterback. And I was like, that's exactly what I was going to say.
She knows what's up.
Right. So it was like, you can show that you know about sports without qualifying it first, going, oh, I know about sports. I'm a girl. It's like, shut up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, man. It's it's who used to say, I don't know which famous NFL coach used to say that, whether it might have been Jimmy Johnson. He says, if you have two quarterbacks, you have no quarterbacks. And I mean, that's what they were trying to do. And I know LSU did that a couple of years ago. So they had the national championship in the 2007 season, my last year at LSU, and then which was under Matt Flynn. Then we had the Ryan Perrilloux season.
Yeah.
Then everything went into a shit show because they started flipping between Andrew Hatch and Jarrett Lee. And then we had the Jordan Jefferson and Jarrett Lee thing. And so we kept this whole roundabout, just fucking merry-go-round of quarterbacks. And it turned into this flaming shit show. And then eventually we got Zach Mettenberger, had a decent season. And then we had Joe Burrow a couple years ago, obviously, and all of that. So
yeah. Well, and there's totally a time and place where putting in that different quarterback like Taysom Hill, you've seen the Saints do it a lot, where it's like it's kind of deadly because it's this change up where they're not. But it was specific to that situation because Drew Brees was like boom, 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 like marching right down the field, and then they took him out and it like messed everything up, and it was just kind of like one of those things, and it was subtle, but I just remember I was thinking it, and then she said it, and I was like, you're right, that's exactly what happened. And I'm sure Sean Payton felt the same way, like, God, why did I do that? But it was unique to exactly like how the situation was kind of playing out, where it was like Drew Brees was just carving them up, right down the field. There was no real like, if anything, it was like I said, momentum.
Yeah, you had them on their heels, and then you do that swap, and it just brings everything. It grinds the brakes.
Yep.
Justin, do you want to say where you're off to, or is that a industry secret?
No, we're going to Riviera Maya, Mexico. And actually, I was telling Robert this. Jeff Long's going to not the same resort, but basically the same resort, the same day. So I'm gonna try to meet up with him. He's going to the family resort, and he's taking his kids. I'm like, no, I'm not going to your resort.
I'm not wasting a resort trip on a kid. Chris, you mainly shop at Vitamin Shop. That works. Just if you're looking for NAC, head to NutriCost's actual website, and if you spend X amount of dollars, you get free shipping stuff too. So,
because is NutriBio still running NAC?
Let me see.
I don't know because usually NutriBio is pretty quick to not.
NutriBio still has it listed on their website. You can get the powder, 150 grams of the powder for $15. They also have 600 milligram capsules available as well on their site. So I mean, Mark's on the up and up with stuff. He's not going to mess around with any gray area ingredients or anything like that.
Yeah, and I just like NutriBio just because they give their third-party testing data on their site.
Agreed. Yeah, 100%.
Go get down.
Sweet. Have fun, Justin. He will. I don't think we have to worry about Justin not having fun.
I'm gonna try my best.
It's gonna be a difficult endeavor, not having to deal with supplement matters and just sitting on a beach drinking beer and bourbon and everything else.
Well, what's nice too is like this particular place that we're going to. We went to the same resort in March in Jamaica. And they have like a butler service, like 24/7.
Yeah.
You literally now all you do is text them, right? They give you their number.
Oh, that's cool.
24/7. You're just like, hey, bring me this.
Beer me.
It's so bad, man. It's so bad.
Yeah.
So spoiled.
Pumped for the Snoop shirts today.
Yeah. So I got to go after this podcast. I got to go pick up the new Supplement Snoop T-shirts. They'll be available for the group first. I did the riff on X-Files. I showed you that.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, they came out awesome. I can't wait.
Excellent. SPF 500.
I'm lucky. I tan super easy. It's good.
What's with all these show prep deaths?
Oh man, people are idiots. We've been talking about this kind of stuff a lot. Like, there is nothing healthy about this industry, man.
Correct.
And I knew that. I kind of knew that as an outsider. Like, but the more you get into it, and the more you actually like meet these people and like talk to them, and it's not like nothing against them. I've met amazing people, but people are wired differently, man, and they're struggling with stuff. There's a lot of insecurity and things and depression and all this other stuff that comes out in these weird kind of ways, and then you get coaches that it's just a bad mix, man. There's so much crazy shit, and that's why I don't know, man. I don't want anything to do with it. The whole bodybuilding thing, man, I'm like, keep that away from me. I don't.
Yeah, and I mean, I know a couple of them recently they've all had the same prep coach, and so maybe his protocols are just not. And it's a fairly well-known physique prep coach. I mean, I'm not extensively informed on the subject. I have some cursory knowledge of what's going on, so I don't want to say too many names or anything like that. But it's a very prominent coach, and he's had several female physique competitors that have passed away in recent times, and it's mostly, I'm assuming, due to the diuretic use, because that stuff, you use that stuff too much of it, just like you take too much insulin or something and you don't have enough carbs in your system, you can really fuck yourself up and kill yourself.
Yeah, I don't, and like I said, it's not like a judgmental thing. I just knew a long time ago when I saw like how extreme it all was, I was like, well, that's not why I'm working out, and that's not why I go to the gym and take supplements and eat healthy. I don't,
right?
Because you see. Well, and then not only that, but people, and that was like kind of like a side note from the fallout with what happened with John, was a lot of people were always like, oh, well, he would always get his blood work done. And it's like that the blood work is like such a tiny snapshot of what's going on within your body. Yeah. It's like, there's so much more to it than that. So people always fall back on this, oh, well, I fixed my blood work. It's like, you shouldn't have to fix your fucking blood work all the time. You know what I mean? That's like,
right.
How is that a good thing for people to do? So you have these people that are extreme and on these, and then you have people following along with them, and it's like taking advice from maybe someone that you shouldn't be taking advice from. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%, man. Jojo, I watched Dr. Mike from Renaissance Periodization, and he said he drinks milk because milk is insulinogenic, is the words he used. What are your thoughts on that? So have you ever watched any of Dr. Mike Israetel's stuff or heard him on any podcasts or anything?
Mm-mm.
No, he's got his PhD in sports science, or basically how to take an athlete and make them the best athlete possible. Runs Renaissance Periodization. He's been on a bunch of podcasts, most notably like the Revive Stronger podcast, which focuses mostly on natural bodybuilding. But they've started getting.
Yours is the only podcast I watch.
There we go, man. Changing lives here.
That's true.
And so he gets very much into the theory of bodybuilding, getting all the way down to like physiological, biological pathways and all this stuff. Now he walks the talk. He's like 5'5" and 250 pounds. So I mean, he's a big motherfucker for being somebody that's so short.
I guess that's kind of what I'm talking about. Like, is that healthy to be 5'5" and 250 pounds? No.
Yeah. No. I mean, but he wants to compete in bodybuilding. He's got one of the sharpest special sports supplement gurus in the industry, Broderick Chavez, doing his chemical enhancement and all of those kind of things.
Well, I think that's true too. Not to derail like what you're talking about or like cut you off, but these are smart people that are in the space when it comes to this particular set, and because they're walking such a fine line between what's to maximize human performance and potential and what's going to fucking kill you. You know,
exactly.
Crazy. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, and so he's released things about the most optimal way to structure your training, most optimal way to structure your diet for mass gain, for fat loss, for all this other stuff. Mm-hmm. And one of his recent videos was on building out kind of his mass gain diet and what he personally did to get, freaking huge. And so one of the things he said, milk is insulinogenic, but something you also got to consider is that most of these top tier professional bodybuilders or guys that are amateur bodybuilders that are competing in the enhanced side of things, is they're also taking things like testosterone, taking insulin, exactly, which is why they're crushing an entire box of cereal after their workouts, because they take a few units of insulin. They got to get those carbs in their system pretty quick, or they're going to end up in a diabetic coma. Mm-hmm. So that's it. Milk, even whey protein, does create an insulin spike. It doesn't have the insulin spike that something like white bread would, or cream of rice, or cream of wheat, or anything like that. Mm-hmm. So that's something to keep in mind. But the whole pathway is that for a natural lifter, I really don't think you need to be worrying about spiking your insulin immediately before or after a training work and then getting back to baseline. That's more for like the enhanced side of things. Mm-hmm. If you're hitting your total daily protein goals, you're hitting your carb goals, your overall macros, and you're supporting proper nutrition before and after your training session, I don't think you really need to worry about spiking your insulin or getting in those super rapid, fast digesting carbs, because you're probably only training once a day, maybe twice, but even then your volume's not going to be so high that you're going to need to like pound super fast digesting or insulinogenic stuff.
Mm-hmm. I only know because I did this. I for a long period of time, you would do like the dextrose and things like that, like post workout, and try because you're listening and watching other people do this, and you're going, okay, let me try that. There's literally no difference for me when I do stuff like that, and then when I just have a shake or something like that, like post workout. I don't know. I always end up like back at the same place, man. It's not that complicated. Like there's a lot of people that just are in the space. If you're not enhanced and competing and things like that, really all we're doing is just wasting a huge amount of time on some kind of merry-go-round, asking questions that don't apply to. I'm not saying JoJo's question is like doesn't apply, but it's like those things just don't matter to most people. You know what I mean? So that's why you sit there and you read like message boards and forums and stuff like that, and it's just people going back and forth saying my way, this way, and this also is because, you know, man, at the end of the day, not much matters. It's just
no, I agree 100%.
I only know because I've put, it's hard because a lot of people aren't consistent enough to like put these things through the paces themselves. I've been consistent for about like 10 years where I've been like relatively the same weight. I've always been like the weight that I want to be, right? And it's because I made it like super simple for myself. So then when I want to try something new, I just kind of add it in and I see what happens, right? Not much moves the needle, man.
I mean, especially like, and I know JoJo's coming up competing in a natural bodybuilding show soon, and so maybe he'll be heading into his off season. He's looking to maybe optimize some things. But I think, you know, milk is a super high quality protein. It's got both whey and casein in it. It does help spike insulin and higher resting insulin levels, combat cortisol, combat muscle breakdown, and things like that. If you are going into a training session fasted, you haven't had anything to eat, then I can see the argument for getting some really fast digesting carbs. You want to create that insulin spike, immediately get cortisol lower, block, and plus insulin in its own right is anti-catabolic, so it helps just combat breakdown naturally, or muscle breakdown that could be induced from just either going for a long time without a meal or resistance training, anything like that, strenuous physical activity. So in that instance, but if you've had a good quality meal, like say you're training at, I don't know, 11 a.m., you have your pre-workout meal at 10. When you finish your training session at 12:30, 1 o'clock, your body's still in the process of digesting and assimilating and utilizing all those nutrients to where, you know, you have your post-workout meal at 1 o'clock, 1:30, even 2 o'clock. You're going to be fine, and you just get that next meal in, and it can be, it can have some complex carbs, it can have some simple carbs, it's going to have some protein, and you'll be fine. Just the worrying about like the super rapid digesting stuff, the spike in the insulin, that's more on the enhanced side when you've got some additional, special sauces coursing through your veins.
Yeah, because usually, like when I try to get like a lot of carbs in, say, post workout, is exactly what you're talking about. Sometimes I don't like to eat, around my training. So, and then sometimes you have some really intense workouts, especially when you fuck around with some seriously like crazy pre-workout.
Oh yeah, just keep going and going.
Right, because you realize sometimes it's great that you use the pre-workouts and stuff like that, but you can feel yourself sort of push beyond where you should have gone that day, and you kind of have like, you can just feel it, right? So sometimes I'm like, okay, I need to have some sort of replenishment, or like I'll turn, because what you said about managing cortisol, people, a lot of people out there don't know like the carb relationship with cortisol post-workout. And cortisol's, you're, especially when you're taking high stim pre-workout and you really, and that was the biggest thing I think that I learned. Like one of the main things I learned over the last few years was how to manage cortisol around my workout, post-workout, whether it's, do I want some carbs to sort of help there, or do I want to use something like, like some sort of adaptogen. I've been using that magnesium product, sort of post-workout. And that's where I've noticed there is a difference, but that's only because I was doing it pretty extreme before. I wouldn't eat and I would have a lot of stimulants, and I wasn't sleeping real great. Like,
it just pegs you out the wrong way.
So now, granted, like I looked good, right? But I just didn't, you didn't feel good, especially like later on. So anyway,
Yeah.
there's a whole thing in there.
Yeah. Totally understand. I agree with you guys are saying, but the idea is to one day trainer, so I'm trying to expand the brain in all I can. Yeah, that's completely understandable. There's understanding the theory and the mechanisms of how things work. Then there's also the practical application, but within that practical application, you got to have context of where's the person that you're training at currently? Where do they want to go? What are their goals? Is it just like Justin brought up earlier, the soccer mom that just kind of wants to lose a few pounds and get in shape? Or is it like the high school athlete that's looking to try and make like a Div 2 school or a Div 1 school or something like that, or guys that somebody wants to step on stage and be a physique competitor? There's a whole spectrum on where you bring in like insulin spiking stuff and fast digesting carbs, post-workout meals, pre-workout meals, very, very highly context dependent.
And there's one underlying issue that I say here all the time when it comes to stuff like this is the age we're living in, people need to crank out content all the time. So you literally like make shit up to talk about.
Yeah.
Like you'll go and find some obscure point or some like thing to talk about because you have to keep your audience engaged. You have to talk about things. It ultimately couldn't matter at all. Like, I'm not saying that he's doing that here, talking about milk or whatever, but the pressure for people to and there's really like not that much to talk about when it comes. I remember thinking like years ago, I remember reading Muscle and Fitness like every month, right?
Yeah.
And I remember after a while, I'm going, this is literally just the same shit over and over and over again. And then they would post some sort of contradictory, but at the end of the day, they weren't saying anything other than get to the gym a little bit and eat like a normal person. Don't eat like an asshole. And I remember, I'm like, how do they come up with content every month? Now you have people that have to make up content every single day.
Yeah.
So it's like,
it's exhausting.
You constantly see people reaching for topics to talk about because they need to have eyes on them. It's just like the news and the media and all that other stuff. Yeah. It doesn't have to be like anything really like, relevant. It just has to be something, you know what I mean? So that's kind of like where people just get into this paralysis by analysis because every single person out there that's a content creator has to put something out there all the time. Yeah. And that's when you get this watered down effect of what is actually beneficial. Because how successful are you going to be if you were to get on your platform every day and say, hey guys, today, make sure you get to the gym, move around a little bit, and don't eat like an asshole.
Eat your fruits and veggies and some meat.
How is that going to create any type of shareable content, with people out there every day? So it's kind of like this perfect storm of there's a lot of information out there, and then people have to talk about stuff, and so you just like beat people into submission about they have no idea what to believe anymore. When the truth of it is, it's usually a very simple answer.
Agreed. Yeah. I mean, in this constant wheel to crank out content, you start coming up with some asinine things like lion's mane wrecks your libido and stuff like that.
Who would say such a asinine
thing? Man. Yeah. Also, you want to work with the youth, so I know they will see things like that and always feel like that stuff is gold. And I just want to be able to explain that, yes, it may work, but you're not there yet. Yeah, absolutely. Exactly what we're saying.
There's I think, and that's why I get so passionate about this topic, is because I have so many people come and ask me, and they bring me these things that don't have anything to do. It's just garbage floating around in their brain, and it's actually it's stopping them from getting to their goal, because the goal was a straight line right in front of them, but then you have all this noise, and it's getting them like off course, and you're just like, push that aside. Yeah. And then maybe like when you're, say you're in JoJo's situation where you get to that level where all of a sudden maybe that stuff does matter, then bring it in. But a lot of people are bringing it in too early in the process, where it's more or less just confusing them more than anything else, when it's like,
correct.
You hate to be the boring, like, get, understand the basics first, but it's true.
Gym Rat, I need something for joint care. I've been taking Animal Flex. Any other better options?
There's probably a million better options than Animal. Animal sucks. I don't know. Like, does it?
I love the candor.
my question, like for people in this situation, always is like, what is it like? I mean, if you enjoy it, then keep taking it. But what about it is not is not fulfilling what your expectations are?
Yeah, and that's a good way to look at it. Right? I mean, maybe from the approach of like maybe they've used it and maybe they wonder they don't know what they're missing out on. Like they're wondering if there's something better than what they're currently using. I mean, I know animal has been around for what 30 years now at least. Animal Pack has been around for like the industry staple for 30 years. And they do some good stuff. I know people that have used Animal Flex and said it's worked well for them. I mean, unless you've already got achy joints, if you're or have otherwise healthy functioning joints and you take a joint supplement, do you really notice if it's doing much? Probably not. But if you've got achy joints, and you started adding it and it's improved you, like you feel less aches and pains, you feel less inflammation, or just things feel less creaky and stuff, then stick with it. But I mean, I know a couple of ones that we're fans of. Orthogen by Morphogen Nutrition.
Yeah, so Orthogen from Morphogen Nutrition is something that it is, in my opinion, that and like maybe like a Pro has another really good one. That's like gold standard, but that doesn't mean you buy it, right? Like it's so loaded, and I've seen it. I've made recommendations to people. They have amazing experiences with it, but that's still, I'll never tell someone that I don't know like their background to go buy it, because it's $48, right? That's a lot of money, and I don't know that a person needs that huge laundry list of, he loads the shit out of that product.
Correct. Yeah.
Will that product help this person? I could confidently say yes, but that doesn't necessarily mean, right, you have to go buy that product, because there's like a really simple joint health formula. Earth Nutri is one that I have on hand, because Earth Nutri does third-party testing. They provide us with all their third-party testing results. They have it's like a type 2 collagen MSM type joint formula, very simple, but it's very effective for people. So it's like, I know a major loaded premium product that could help you, and I know a simple product that could maybe help you too. And it's kind of like, you just have to figure out where you're at as a person and sort of like, what do you need? So it's only 2 ingredients, 2 capsules, $25 for 30 servings, and then on their websites, they always have 30% off and all this other shit. So it's like, or do you need the
fully loaded thing,
$50, like fully loaded, this is going to change you into a cyborg type joint repair kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Another low cost option is SNS Joint Support XT. That's one I've used in the past and I've recommended to people. You can pretty much, I think you get that for like $20 a bottle and it's 30 servings. All well dosed stuff. The joint supplement from Granite Supplements is another solid option.
I think brands, right? I usually just tell people like Core makes
Core Flex is a really good one.
Right, Core makes great products. You go buy their joint health product. NutriBio, Extreme Joint Care from NutriBio is amazing.
Super solid, yeah. You could just do like or you can go to Amazon, and if you want to, Jim Wright, send me an email, thesupplamentengineer@gmail.com, and there's 4 bulk ingredients that I send to my dad, or tell him to get each month, and so it's 500 milligrams of natural eggshell membrane, UC2 collagen, a boswellia extract that's standardized for the boswellic acids. And then did I say UC2 already?
Yep.
Yeah, UC2, natural eggshell membrane, the boswellia, and Cissus is another one. You can do 1,000 milligrams of Cissus from either.
I knew you were going to say that, because so it was funny. If you look at Chemex came out with a joint formula, and this was kind of funny because I was getting a lot of joint formula questions on my on my question sticker. And then one day, like, someone asked me, like, what ingredients do you look for when it comes to joint formula? And I was like, well, I said Cissus, I said boswellia, I said UC2 collagen, and I said some of these really interesting curcumin standardizations
for inflammation.
But so I named off these products, and then like the next day, Guerrilla Chemist dropped, because the PEA in here is also a really amazing one. the next day, Guerrilla Chemist dropped the formula for this, and I was like, it was literally every single ingredient that I just mentioned that I really like, because there are some things that, the glucosamines and chondroitins are a waste.
Yeah, I mean, they're fine, but they're minuscule and they're dirt cheap. I mean,
That's like, well, and that's like, so Morphogen has big dosages of them in Orthogen.
Yeah.
But that's not what the formula is like built on. Like, you see a lot of older like joint style formulas, like that's the backbone is glucosamine and chondroitin,
right?
Because it's really cheap for the brand. Whereas like in Orthogens, it's sort of like a throw in where he's like, maybe this stuff helps you, but there's also Orthogen is freaking loaded, and it is a phenomenal product. But this Chemix one is really cool too.
So you're trying to say Brian at Chemix stole your joint formula? Is that what you're trying to say?
I talked to him about it, and I showed him the video that I had made the day before, and it was. And I will say this too. So Orthogen, Nick's on here. Nick can probably back me up here. So he had this. He originally had this orange flavor. It was like supposed to be like an orange juice. It was alright. It was alright. Not the greatest flavor. These two flavors that he just came out with, this cranberry apple one, because most joint formulas are capsule based, because the ingredients taste.
The Paractin is horrendous tasting. I've tried it just by itself in a joint formula where we removed it, and then where we put it back in. Paractin is so vile tasting and astringent; it kills everything. Yeah, they are. I mean, everybody does joint capsules because these are horrendous tasting ingredients. Yeah. But this Orthogen, the cranberry apple, is actually both of them, but he killed these flavors. It is so good. I don't know how. Cool. Yeah, I know, just because Paractin is super gnarly. I mean, the rest of them, some of the stuff could be pretty bad, but curcumin and Paractin especially are BAC. The one thing that he has in here that's interesting is the Celadrin. Mm-hmm. That's another really cool one. They're not cheap. That's a good thing. I mean, that's the thing about Morphogen, right? I tell people all the time, huge fan of everything he does. I think that you can go to him and his products will help you, but at the same time, like, you need something that hefty, right? Yeah. So it's like, it's kind of that whole like restaurant analogy, are you going out just to have a meal to satiate you a little bit, or do you want to have like the whole buffet? You want all the carbs, all the fats, all the protein all at the same time, or are you just looking for, something small? Exactly. Yeah, Nick said the same thing. The OG flavor is not that great, but the product was so good that I'm like, okay, just deal with it, kind of thing. Yeah. But the new flavors are just oh man, they're good. They're good. Yeah. What's going on, Nick? Social media syndrome, instant gratification. Yeah, that's one of many issues with social media. There's good. There's also bad. Absolutely. There's social media is amazing. You know what I mean? Social media has changed my life completely. Yeah. Yeah. But it's like I always tell people, like, I don't read social media. I go on, I do my thing. Yeah. Go on, get off, and don't live on it. Right. It's when we're sitting around bored and you start, because man, it's easy. You start clicking around, and next thing you know, you're pissed off. You're feeling some type of way about it, and it's like, oh man, it's just, I don't know. Yeah, man. I was looking up Controlled Labs. I thought they had a joint formula, but they don't. They just have some stuff built into Orange Triad. Yeah, isn't it like Orange Triad? Like there's I want to say Flex version or something like that. It's like, there's Orange Triad, and then they add in like different versions. Yeah, I thought they did. It said, they've got Orange Triad. It says multi-joint digestion and immune aid. I'm trying to see what the Like a Pro's joint formula is awesome too. Well, yeah, theirs isn't all that stellar. It's 2 grams, or I can share it. I like stuff from Controlled Labs in general. This one, I would like to see what they could do just with a standalone thing. So we've got the regular vitamin complex here. You got 2 grams of glucosamine and chondroitin, which is meh. That's probably a gram of each of those, or maybe 1,500 and 500. It's very meh. Flex complex of MSM, bromelain, maltodextrin, and hyaluronic acid. I'm not sure why maltodextrin is. I mean, maybe just an anti-caking agent or something, but that.
Yeah, I think that.
Again.
Yeah.
And then digestion and immune complex of echinacea, ginger root, quercetin. I mean, these are solid ingredients in there.
They usually have pretty good prices too, like on their stuff. Like they're, because it's like a Pros is amazing. Now, granted, website prices are always inflated, but it's it's $70. For
let's see.
Granted, it is literally the most expensive joint formula I've ever seen. If you know anything about these ingredients that are in there, this is expensive shit. And
yeah. Oh, god damn.
Because actually, UC2 is very expensive.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've gotten pricing on that before with some stuff we were looking at doing for Apollon on a joint formula. And Paractin was in there, UC2 is in there, and a couple of these other ones.
Yeah, Longvita is very expensive. Longvita is super cool. How I mentioned, I think what Chemex had a different trademark curcumin. Longvita is really effective.
They had curcumin and the tetrahydrocurcumin. Yeah, they had two forms in the Chemex one.
Longvita is a neat one. So Jeff always goes with trademarks, and there's sometimes when trademark is just kind of like a Creapure instead of regular creatine. It's almost like there's probably no difference, but there's a level of security there or a level of integrity there.
Right.
But then there is ones like Longvita where it makes a huge difference compared to like regular curcumin. So we always get those questions about like, do trademarks matter? In some cases, they matter quite a bit.
Yeah, like regular beta-alanine versus carnosine. I don't really think that matters.
Right, there's no difference whatsoever.
We're talking about like ashwagandha stuff, regular ashwagandha root versus like a KSM or Sensoril or a Shodan. Yeah, there's a big difference there.
Yeah, changes everything about the ingredient. Yeah.
Let me see if I know Advanced Molecular Labs has a joint formula coming out. I don't know if it's officially released yet or not.
That's one company I really like. Joe
joint cocktail, yeah.
Joe over there, he doesn't like me at all.
No,
because I told him the one time because he blocked Tim Gritzman one time because
shit.
It was really like kind of a weird whole kind of thing. So they had their pre-workout and they always talk about like how dedicated they are to science and he's very extreme with what he says. And I was like, well, if you're so big on the science, I said, why are some of your dosages on your pre-workout not released? Yeah. And oh man, he flipped out on me. But I was like, I don't give a fuck, like, I don't give a shit. Like, just answer the question. But yeah. So anyway, I'm a huge fan of the brand, though.
Yeah, I mean, I like their dosages. The Dopa Rush line of stuff they got from like their nootropic and their pre-workout is solid. I mean, Steve Bleckman over at AML, like the owner of AML, always is a huge research nerd, kind of like Justin and I are, where he's always digging through this stuff and doses things as effectively as possible while keeping things reasonable and priced. I mean, you've got full dosages here of just about everything.
I think it stemmed from the whole like taurine, caffeine, weird.
Yeah. I know Steve is very much against the taurine stuff, and him and I have talked offline about that. Just he doesn't think it belongs anyways, just because taurine's got some GABAergic properties, and there's a few associational studies showing adverse cardiovascular effects from energy drink consumption, but there's no hard data, in my opinion, to show that taurine and caffeine is deleterious to exercise performance, overall human health, and all of that. So at least I don't see anything yet. People are entitled to have their own opinions and differences, and so I mean, Steve and I do a lot of stuff together, and we differ on this. That's okay, though. I mean, it's not like we're going to go to war over it. It's just he sees it one way, I see it another way, and that's fine.
And I think that was where the whole thing happened. Was it wasn't even like I remember Tim saying like Tim's not an extreme guy. He like gets it. Joe's very extreme. So and Tim was like, well, hey, we have years of anecdotal evidence. I've been taking taurine in my pre-workouts and I'm fine, and it's like, I think when you get like taurine, what I think happens too, because there was an energy drink study, and I remember like my question that got me blocked was, all I said was, is this specific to energy drinks, or are we talking about like pre-workouts? Because energy drinks, as we know, there's all other weird shit kind of going on in there and stuff like that. And I never got an answer. So we know too, like when you get like, there was a Mile Blocks pre-workout. It was like a Halloween version. It was like 666. There was like 6 grams of betaine. There was 6 grams of insulin, 6 grams. There was 6 grams of taurine.
Yeah.
That, especially to people that are not sensitive to stimulants, that thing was a sleep aid. 6 grams of taurine, 100% is like, that's too much where you're pushing into the GABAergic, it's almost like there's that balance going on, and that pushes that for. And then
you've got that bell-shaped curve kind of thing, and you get that the sweet spot's kind of in like that 2 to 4 gram range, and you go over and
and there's other people that could take it, and the stimulant effect would be so strong that they wouldn't notice the taurine. The thing about taurine too is we know that it does a lot of cool things for your workouts, though. So it's like to just say that it doesn't belong there. It's like I just don't see it.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's got antioxidant properties. It helps with cell volumization, combats oxidative stress. But it also, you look up some independent studies on like actual RCTs on just taurine ingestion or supplementation on it. It actually improves cardiovascular function. So that's when you say like, all right, well, is it the combination of caffeine and taurine that's stressful on the heart? And I'm thinking, I don't really know if I believe that. And that's where you can say the energy drink thing, but that's fine. Most of those studies, you're also getting like 80 grams of sugar with caffeine, taurine, and a bunch of other stuff too. Yeah. So,
and I don't think that, it's not even that I'm saying that they're wrong having that stance, but I'm just not I'm not comfortable saying that extreme of an opinion. I think having extreme opinions in the supplement space is a little dangerous anyway.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of concrete stuff, in this space. So
yeah, I agree. It's interesting. I know green tea extract is another one, kind of one of those ingredients that is, because you see every year or two, there's some study that comes out and says man ends up with, toxic liver syndrome or liver failure because they OD'd on something that contained green tea extract.
Yeah, it's like,
is it really the green tea extract? No. Is it an unhealthy lifestyle? Is it, is EGCG really that bad for you? Is the green tea concentrate that hazardous? I don't know. It's too conflicted. Dead. It's all associational stuff.
I'd be dead if it was.
Yeah.
I don't know. So. It's just, there's always more. There's always more to the story, and supplements are always an easy scapegoat because there's a negative stigma associated with them. And you're seeing it too, where they're quick to blame it, especially as more like the TikToks and Instagrams and all that stuff, where you can basically just say something. There's no fact checking. There's no, you can just say something, right? So then someone goes on TikTok and says, I almost died because of this pre-workout. Everybody in this space knows that's not. I'm like 99% sure that it's not the pre-workout. It's some sort of combination.
Correct.
But millions of people could see this, and then it's too late. It's too late to like bring that back in. So the damage is already kind of done. So you're like, right.
Yeah. Justin Thompson, regarding the energy drink lowered performance thing, I'm starting to think sucralose is causing some serious gut issues for me. Lots of data showing it really harms the gut. I wouldn't say there's lots of data. I mean, there's a few studies that a couple of people will point to, but most of those are in animals or obese individuals. And it's in almost all subs. Thoughts on extensive sucralose intake? There's the caveat. Exactly. In otherwise healthy, moderate amounts, sucralose is safe. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have any adverse impact on the gut microbiome. It's going to be okay. And just because it has an effect on the gut microbiome doesn't mean that's necessarily a bad effect, or maybe it modulates your gut bacteria. Doesn't necessarily mean it's good or bad. It's a change. It's a delta. That's all it is. It doesn't mean it's a good or bad delta. So thoughts on extensive. So extensive or excessive? Well, excessive intake of anything. I think Justin and I would both agree that it's that's not good, no matter what substance you're talking about, whether it's water, caffeine, or anything.
Yeah, too much water can kill you. This is a perfect example of how things kind of go off the rails sort of in this space, because there's a lot of people that do a lot of fear mongering when it comes to like sucralose.
Yeah.
It's not so, and not saying this person, but what usually happens is we're looking for that one thing, right? That's causing our issues, that's causing the stress, that's causing something's going on with your gut. There's something, right? So we want to figure out what that answer is, and usually it's a cumulative effect of lots of different habits. And that's why I always tell people, like when they ask me about artificial sweeteners added to your pre-workout or something like that, I'm like, the overwhelming majority of people in this space don't have to worry about that, because most likely outside of your, say, use of sucralose in your pre-workout, people have like healthier habits overall in the rest of your day.
Yeah. So
some sucralose in your pre-workout is not going to kill you. But when you have people on the extreme end that are constantly like, it all goes back to this whole like where people are like processed food is killing people, or also it's never the one thing. It's never that, right? And I use the analogy of, how they say like red wine is like healthy for you. That's not true. Like we know that there's parts of red wine that are healthy, but what you see is people that sort of, when people turn to alcohol and they drink red wine, in general, they are healthier in life, right?
Correct.
It's like almost like there's like this secondary sort of effect there where it's like, okay, this isn't the healthy or unhealthy thing necessarily, but it's usually a sign of overall healthier habits, if that makes sense. So it's kind of like, we know that sucralose doesn't do anything like super negative to you if used in this
moderation. Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. I guess something else to consider, Justin, is what are the GI issues? You don't have to go into explicit detail or, graphic detail in the comments, but, are you finding that you're just feeling, more bloated, gassy during the day? You're spending more time in the bathroom. Like if that's the case, then maybe look at your overall diet and maybe you need to tweak your sucralose intake. But I mean, if the only thing you're having as far as sucralose is like a scoop of pre-workout and a scoop of protein powder during the day, I mean, I think you're well within the safety limits of that. Now, if you're doing, 6 scoops of amino acids, 3 scoops of protein, a scoop of pre-workout, a mass gainer shake, and 6 Diet Cokes, maybe you want to start looking at some, at a bunch of sugar-free candies and stuff like that, and sugar-free gum. Maybe you want to start, looking at it. But if we're talking like just a moderate intake, like a scoop of pre-workout and a scoop of protein, or like a scoop of aminos and a scoop of protein, or even, protein, pre-workout, and aminos, you're fine, man.
It's like that's like the diet soda thing, right? There's this this huge like conflict about diet soda.
Yeah.
Same exact thing. If a person with overall healthy habits and healthy lifestyle has a diet soda, nothing's going to happen, right?
Right.
Now, if a person that has this cumulative effect of bad habits and has the diet soda, there could be some, and there are people that I do know, I don't know, like for sure if this is it, but some people do say sucralose does give them a certain reaction.
Yeah.
There is people out there that you're allergic to certain dyes, or maybe like sucralose does have like to you specifically, it might have a kind of a weird effect. But
yeah, absolutely.
In general, the whole thing is really gone off the rails when it comes to this.
Yeah, usually from like the naturalistic crowd that says anything that's chemical made, anything that is a chemical, is hazardous. Yet everything around us is chemicals. Water is a chemical. So I mean, it's just consider the source and really dive deep. If you hear something, take it with a grain of salt. Then do a little bit of investigation, or just come ask me and Justin, and we'll do our best to give you some halfway reasonable answer.
Well, I had a woman the other day. She was like, "I need a multivitamin that just has vitamin C. It doesn't have the ascorbic acid." And I was like, it's not a thing. And she was like, well, I can't have the chemical version of vitamin C. And I was like,
go to red bell pepper or some strawberries. You get your vitamin C that way.
I was like, well, then I was like, you can't. It doesn't work that way. I was like, just eat a fucking orange, But there's this exactly like what you just said. I'm like, there's nothing because something's synthetic, that who cares?
Right.
So it's like, I don't know. It was just kind of like one of those moments where I was like, wow. So
Yeah,
that is vitamin C in there is no such thing as a vitamin C. I don't know. Anyway, it's just kind of one of those questions where I'm like, wow, there's a disconnect.
Yeah, man. Here's a good one. So I've learned that you need a certain amount of potassium to go with sodium intake. Yes. Is there any ranges for an average person who has body physique goals of sodium intake daily?
I don't know what the ranges are.
The RDI, just like the average sedentary American recommended intake or sufficient intake, is 2,300 milligrams, which is 1 teaspoon of about table salt. So that's 2,300 milligrams. Now, that's the average person that just sits on their ass all day, watches TV, maybe goes for like a 10-minute walk to get the dog and the mail and come back home. For people that have very physically active jobs, for individuals that train at a high level, that maintain high levels of physical activity, as well as those individuals that just live in hot environments, or maybe they just sweat a lot naturally, their nutrient intakes are going to ramp up considerably because you're more physically active, your body's excreting more minerals, utilizing more minerals, all of that stuff. So there's no one blanket recommendation across the board for all individuals in every case. That 2,300 milligrams is for the average individual that doesn't really do a whole hell of a lot.
I say it all the time. I'm like, give me as much salt as possible.
Yeah, like you and I are both very physically active. JoJo works for Amazon, so he's busting ass all day long. So I wouldn't really be worried about your salt intake, JoJo. You're training hard. You've got kids. You've got a very physically demanding job. I wouldn't really stress over your sodium intake. Make sure you're consuming enough, if anything.
Well, I think he's asking about potassium.
Yeah, I mean, just have enough potassium. Like usually, so
I don't know what that is. I don't know.
4,600 milligrams, I think, is the potassium intake. I thought it was double the sodium, just because people tend to not get enough sodium. Let me see.
But it kind of goes. The reason why we don't necessarily know is because it varies so much from person to person. There isn't like an exact answer.
Yeah. I mean, I've got blood ranges, which is 3.6 to 5.2 millimoles per liter. But I think average daily intake should be around 4,600 milligrams. 3,500 to 4,700 milligrams daily. It's with a healthy adult. So, but I mean, you can get that from foods. Your multivitamin and most of your your intra workout or your pre workout will have very modest amounts, minor amounts of potassium in there. But yogurt, avocados, those are great sources. Salmon. What else is really good? Potatoes are good. Bananas are good. All of those are good sources of potassium to have in the diet.
Yeah, I think potatoes is a really underrated one. People don't realize.
Yeah.
But it's kind of so when you see certain foods, like all the foods you just named off, that's why when people compete and all these other things, they eat basically the same staple foods all the time. It's stuff like that sort of, because, and then they supplement, accordingly. You might have, like I said, something you might make up, say if you're like a CrossFitter or something like that, you might mix up an intra workout of, something extra in this area, extra sodium, cane sugar, other things like that. So it's you have all these social things that are frowned upon, salt and sugar and all this other stuff. But if you're a healthy person that's not getting those things all day, you might have to take more of it on purpose. You know what I mean?
Right.
In order to get yourself, because you're burning through so much at the same time. So it really, it's very dependent on the person.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is another boring content answer, because we don't have the magic answer. So it's it depends is not great content, but I say it every day 1,000 times. I'm like, it depends.
Yeah, and then part of the thing is are we just talking by general body composition, health and physique goals, you just want to look good if you go to the beach, or are you talking shredded on stage? That's two different kind of physique goals there too. And now when you're starting to get to super lean levels for getting on the stage, you got to be really careful with your water dosages and your sodium intake, your potassium intake, all of that, because that water fluctuation, you could look bloated and puffy on stage, you could look flat, that is where you go to a specialized physique prep coach that knows how to deal with sodium manipulation and water manipulation, all that stuff. But for the average individual, just salt your food, consume enough high quality whole foods. Your sodium and potassium ounces most likely will be just fine.
Well, and that's kind of the question too, is because there's a lot of people, they'll tell you when they step on stage, it's the unhealthiest they've been.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, what's your goal? Is it to be healthy? Because then that might not, because so when someone does and competes and stuff like that, sometimes then they have to spend time. That's why there's an off season. They got to fix what they've done to themselves to prep. So it's like, to give advice on how to be healthy, that's not where we're looking, right? That's a very specific, kind of thing. But it's like, if you're just trying to have a higher quality of life, then that's not the route you necessarily want to go.
Yeah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this will be the last call for questions, and then Justin and I will be hopping off here in a few minutes. So if you guys got anything, get it in the queue now. And otherwise, Justin and I will get off to various other meetings and minutia of the day that we got to do.
Yeah, man, it's gonna be. I gotta get packing. I gotta, like I said, I'm lucky. I remembered. I was like, I need to find my passport.
Yeah,
moved and all this other stuff and shit. It was just kind of everywhere. So I got to go pick up the T-shirts. So any Supplement Snoop group members that are listening to this, I will go pick up those T-shirts in a little bit, and then I'm going to put them on the Nutrition Store's website, so you can order them from TNS. And then while you're on the site, obviously pick up some more stuff, some more goodies. It's the Nutrition Stores plural.com, I think.
Yeah, that's what I'm pulling up right now, just so we can show everybody where it was going to be. Because that was my next question. I was going to say, is it exclusive to the Facebook group for Supplement Snoop, or are you going to have it on the website as well?
It'll be for everyone. Okay. We're just going to give like an initial. I want to make sure everybody in the private Facebook group is able to get one, because we didn't order a massive quantity of them. Mm-hmm. See Jacob there wearing the crop top. If you go back, so they have these new, TNS has some of the best. They have this one too, this Come and Take It one that I have on, but their apparel is elite. So
you got some serious traps going on right there.
Oh, he's a freak in nature, man. He's a freak.
Oh, seeing this right here reminds me. What are your thoughts on? Jojo asked me yesterday thoughts on the Axe and Sledge protein. I know it's a whey isolate. I haven't tried any of their flavors. I've heard good things, but I know you've probably tried some of their flavors before.
Especially, and I hate to say this because I think we just know it's maybe a little bit easier to sort of flavor, some. I think NutriBio is a good example. If you try the classic whey versus their isolate, the classic whey usually tastes a little bit better, even like similar formulas. Axe and Sledge, I was supposed to get Dippin' Dots before I left, but it's not here yet. I don't think so. I don't think I'm gonna get to try it till I come back. But
Heather, if you're listening to this, send Justin a tub of the Dippin' Dots protein.
They did, and I don't think it's gonna get here in time. So, but Axe and Sledge's protein is phenomenal, and it's like I don't like to say clean because that's not. I don't think that's true, but it's very like. It's an isolate. It's got digestive enzymes and stuff like that. It's super like it's protein, right? There's basically everything is taken out of it, but their flavors, their salted caramel one is amazing. And then like they have a cinnamon apple pie one. Kristen uses that one to make apple fritters, which her apple fritters are delicious. Insane. She uses that one, and she uses Arms Race Foundation, because that one's a milk isolate, so it's easier to sort of like bake with and stuff like that.
Yeah, I can see that.
You gotta see this the apple fritter recipe, dude. They are so good.
Really?
They're so good. Yes. Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Good stuff, man. Late answering. But for sucralose, I usually have 2 Ghost energy drinks, pre-workout, bucked up, all bulk, no bloat, creatine. I'm tripping on this stuff, and caged hydrocharge during the day.
You have 2 Ghost energy drinks for pre-workout?
So what, 500 milligrams of caffeine there, plus another.
No, wait a minute. So you have 2 Ghost energy drinks and a pre-workout.
Yeah.
Bucked up, all bulk, no bloat. What a bunch of fucking bullshit they are. God, I can't stand them.
Deer antler velvet, man. Deer antler
I'll,
velvet.
I'll go
It's
on.
magic.
I'll go on the whole tangent about creatine and
Go for
bloating.
it.
Bloating
Go
some
for
other. There's no such thing. Creatine doesn't bloat you. Creatine puts the water into the muscle tissue, which is exactly where you want it. I do. I like Justin's style. So first of all, great name. It's usually a sign of a good person to be named Justin.
Yeah.
But I love Ghost energy drinks, man.
Solid flavoring. Solid flavoring. I like them.
As far as like, maybe there's some other things that maybe like caffeine content and stuff like that we should talk about. But
yeah, that could be causing an irritation. That's a good point.
As far as like sucralose, I don't see it. I don't think there would be.
No, I don't think that's by any means excessive or verging on that. Because is the bucked up creatine? Does that have any sucralose in it? Let me see. Or is it just plain creatine and there's nothing else in there? Bucked up 6-point creatine.
God, I can't stand them.
Let's see. Creatine monohydrate from Bucked Up, 300 grams. Yeah, there's no sucralose in that.
I tell you what, though, no, you can't take away from their marketing. That's a smart thing to call it.
Yeah.
Because you're just tapping into like people's fear of creatine.
I got it for free. Don't judge.
I'd sell it. I'd turn around and sell it.
He's gonna stand on principle. Sell the free shit you got, Justin. Just get rid of it.
No, I don't. If it helps people, you know me. At the end of the day, if it makes people feel better, then go do it.
Yeah. Also, with your creatine, make sure you're taking in enough water with it. Just 8 to 16 ounces, because sometimes if you don't drink enough water with it, that can actually, because it pulls in water and it can pull in some water into the GI tract. So if you're not hydrated sufficiently enough, that'll cause some GI distress that way. Check your caffeine intake. Just make sure you're drinking enough water with your creatine when you are taking it.
Yeah, because I think Ghost is 200 milligrams caffeine for the energy.
Yeah, 200 milligrams. I'm pretty sure. Maybe 250. Let me see.
I think it's 2.
Fully loaded, no artificial BS, no artificial colors, no sugar.
I do like those Ghost energy drinks, man. That Sour Patch Blue Raz one. Oh,
that's good.
I got a couple of them. We got a couple of them in the fridge for tomorrow.
200 of natty caffeine.
Natty caffeine.
Natty caffeine. It's not on the juice. It's the natty caffeine.
Yeah,
Neurofactor, man. I love me some Neurofactor.
Yeah. It's a great product, man. I think that was one that I've always talked shit about energy drinks, and then finally one that was some legitimate dosages. The Alcar thing didn't work out. Like they thought, because there's a suspension sort of thing going on there.
And it turns really acidic too. The longer it stays in solution and everything, it gets real nasty and gnarly.
Which is weird because the America ones have Alcar in it, but they don't. I don't have that.
Maybe it's the dosage thing, because I think what Ghost was using 1 gram of it at a time. And I think America Energy only has 250 or 500.
Could be. I think it was 400, if I remember correctly. But I do like those America ones.
Oh yeah, I wish I had some more of them. Shop Daytona B.
I hear a lot of good things about HydroCharge, though. People seem to really like that one. Although I think Spectra is total bullshit ingredient. HydroCharge gets a lot of good feedback. Spectra.
Yeah, and it is 250 Alcar, 250 choline bitartrate, 190 caffeine, and 50 milligrams of guarana.
Is there nothing at 400 milligrams in there? Or am I just...
Nothing 400. Maybe the old version did?
Could be.
Yeah, both of those are solid. Where did my screen go? There we go.
Anyway, right. I think it's some new bourbons this week, too.
Did you? What'd you get?
We can talk. So I showed you the picture, right? We talked last week. I got... those things from Utah.
The double rye from High West.
I didn't try that one yet. Because I've been limiting my alcohol intake this past week because this coming week is going to be
get on hand.
But then I stopped off. Oh, a friend of mine lives in Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, so he literally just got into bourbon like the other day. Like we like kind of push him into it.
Yeah.
Fucking guy goes to some place in Minneapolis, right? They've got everything Buffalo Trace. They've got just a selection, dude, that you would be so pissed off if you saw this selection.
Yeah.
Because then I go to the liquor store here and I get none of that.
Yeah, not even like generic, like regular Buffalo Trace. That's scarce to find around here. Just their regular on the shelf bourbon.
Yeah, so I just picked up some staples. I picked up a big bottle of Larceny. You can get that giant bottle for like $40.
That's
I picked up some regular some of the normal High West that we usually drink, and then some Yellowstone. You ever have Yellowstone?
I have not had Yellowstone. No, not yet.
Yellowstone is because I did it on like a blind taste test the one time, and I was like, man, this tastes very similar to Blanton's, whatever this is. And my buddy was like, yeah, it's Yellowstone. And I was like, shit.
Wonder if they're sourcing from the Buffalo Trace distillery.
But then I don't know, because you know how that is. Like sometimes you have it once and it tastes, and then you have it again, and it's like you can have kind of like a different experience like each time. So we'll see if this one is on par, because that one's easy to find for me. So, so I just picked up some staples.
There you go, man. Have you started, like, I know you've gone through several bottles of Blanton's. Have you started trying to spell out Blanton's with all the bottle tops and everything?
There's a couple empty bottles.
Yeah, I see them right over your shoulder right there. I see the little horses just popping up right there.
Yeah, and there's an empty bottle of Blanton's Gold right behind it.
There you go.
No, I didn't try to do that. We have 3 bottles, empty bottles here, because it was funny because one of them we realized was bottled on her 30th birthday. So we kept that one. And then there was another one, I can't remember the date. There was a significant date on one of these ones back there too. And I remember we kept them from the dates.
Okay. Cool.
So yeah.
All right, man. Thank you for joining us, to all the listeners out there. We appreciate your support of the Bourbon Brothers podcast. If you like what we're doing, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share the video with family and friends. If you listen to this on any other podcast perusing platform, leave us a 5-star review. That helps us climb up in the almighty algorithm that dictates anything and everything to which we are exposed. And if there's any other personal questions or you got topics for a future discussion with me and Justin, send Justin a DM at Supplement Snoop on Instagram, or shoot me an email at supplementengineer@gmail.com. And we'll catch you all next time.
Yeah, we'll see you next Thursday.
Yes, next Thursday, because Justin's going to go bask in the glory of Riviera Maya, Mexico.
If I come back, we'll see you next Thursday.
There we go. If not, we're just going to broadcast from the beach next week. All right, man. Have a good one.